Devotees often ask why there are different standards of worship in different temples. There's a very interesting discussion in the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Narad Muni, there's a verse that starts Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and then in the verse he goes on to explain, because he's saying that one should worship the deity with this mantra, but then he goes on to explain that one must worship the deity according to time, place, available conveniences and inconveniences. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he takes this point and he elaborates it about time, place, available convenience and inconveniences. And then he explains that what may be convenient in India, for instance, may not be convenient in another part of the world. For instance, in India, it's so easy to buy ready-made garlands, it's so easy to buy sandalwood, it's so easy to buy incense, it's so easy to buy so many things that are taken for granted here in India. But then when you go, you can buy kumkum, here in Mumbai they have puja markets and things like that. In the country where I come from, Australia, there's no such thing as a puja market. All these basic needs that you use in deity worship have to be brought from India. And even now we see it's getting more and more difficult. For instance, to take conchs out of India is very difficult. To import peacock feathers into other countries, peacock fans is very difficult. To import chamras and things like that into other countries now is very difficult. So, different places will worship the Lord according to their capacity. So that's one aspect, is the material ingredients that are available for the worship. But also we see that there is an element of the resources in terms of how much manpower is available. In temples where they have many, many pujaris, then it's much easier to have more elaborate worship and more elaborate festivals and things like that. We see in Mayapur that they have devotees chanting mantras for the deities. They have huge abhisheks and different things like that, which in other temples are not so practical because they lack the resources in terms of devotees to do the worship. So we see that wherever we go in ISKCON, we'll see that different temples, they do things a little bit differently, because there's also the personal element as well. There's also things like the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. In different temples, Prabhupada gave instructions to do the deity worship in a particular way, and in other temples he instructed devotees to do it in a different way. So we see that all over ISKCON, you'll find there are small variations, but we see that the basic worship is the same. We offer the same items to the deities, in that we'll offer bholga to them, generally Radha Krishna 5 or 6 times a day. This is always followed by an arati. Then you see we have Mangal Arati in all our temples, generally at 4:30. Sometimes a little bit later based on local necessity, if the noise is disturbing to the neighbours and things like that. Then also we see that darshan is generally around 7 o'clock, sometimes 7:15, sometimes 7:30. And with the darshan, in every temple in ISKCON they play the Govindam prayers. So it depends. If we get involved in the little details of the worship, we'll see there's variations everywhere. But if we look at the overall picture, we'll see that actually the worship is the same everywhere you go in ISKCON. The same basic standards of worship are offered the deity. We're offering them 16 items of worship every day, addressing the deities, ornamenting the deities, offering them garlands, sandalwood, tulsi on the feet of Vishnu Tattva, things like that. So in the detail, there may be variation, but in the principles or the bigger picture of the worship, we see it's the same everywhere we go.